full-time employee, maybe even for like a big corporation of some sort with some sort of stability in their own market, even within that, there is uncertainty and insecurity. So why would you even like flirt with the idea of leaving that to even more insecurity and uncertainty to like go and like be entrepreneurial and start a business from the ground up in like an unexpected and abrupt way? I think we are actual founders that haven't really founded anything.
All right, we're live. So what's good? So did y'all get to see the outline? I mean, should we even do the outline, or y'all just want to wing it? What's up?
Are you asking a question that you already know the answer to?
No, bro, I don't know. I don't know. All right, we'll just start the intro. So, what's good? Welcome to Degeneratives. It's the podcast where three degenerates try to build businesses, fix our lives, and maybe say something helpful. This is episode 1. We have no idea what we're doing.
What are we talking about? What do we do? Should we actually stop and like look at this like actual script? Bro. I don't think any of us.
Like in my mind, what I was thinking is that we're going to be speaking to us 20 years ago. My goal is, as long as we're 1% better with each episode. Do y'all have it up? Y'all don't even know where it is. Y'all don't even know where the file is. Okay, whatever. It's cool.
Can you screen share real quick?
Yeah, but why do we need to look at the script if you know it, you produced it, you developed it? Take me a step back. Like, is this like the gimmick of us actually trying to start a business, but documenting the effort and the journey and the absurdity of some of our non-action? Is that the like premise of the show? Because none of us actually have the tangible, real experience to educate people on anything. But if there is like an audience at some point, the audience has a relatable, again, like set of 3 people that are also going through a growth opportunity, a growth experience. So like, is that the vibe? So we like almost like episodes can be like a step in the journey, and there's maybe some positive movement, or there isn't, or there's like stagnation for like a couple episodes.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. What are y'all thinking?
Wait, straight business ideas?
I mean, yeah, like everything related to business improvement. I don't know, like if we saw something interesting in business or some ideas, or we had an interesting idea like that, like it doesn't, I don't feel like it has to be the same thing every episode. It could just, I just want it to be consistent that we are recording and talking through shit every episode.
Well, number one, I didn't look at the other document because I think at the end of the day, one thing that I just feel like the 3 of us collectively, we all have different backgrounds, but they've all led us to a point in our lives. I don't know if you want to call it successful, but to the point where like we're doing okay in life. And not that there's like a freaking, I don't know, I just feel like there's value we could add to like even like the younger generation. Because me as a dad, one thing I'm always worried about is the next generation. But all these other kids are always locked in on their phones, the communication skills, like how that might impact others. I just feel like there should be those type of discussions too, in regards to like, you know, what are our thoughts on that? Or, you know, is it good? Is it advantageous for all these kids to have phones? Or she doesn't have a phone. Is it she had a disadvantage because now all these other kids are more engaged and more involved with technology, and technology is the future. So am I actually holding her back from, you know, what the future is going to look like? You know what I'm saying?
All these could be conversations that we have. And I think that if it's interesting, at the end of the day, I mean, we're saying it's like a business podcast, but it legit, at the end of the day, if it's interesting to you and you want to talk about it.
I don't know if I wanted it to be a true business podcast. I just figured it'd be like a cool podcast to talk about everything in general. Like, you know, whether it's our background, where we came from, how we got where we are today, you know, something you might have read, or a book you might have read, or a study that Daniel's working on. He doesn't have to give his work, you know, his place of employment or specifics, but like, I don't know, something we might have seen in the headlines. Just literally just 3 guys shooting the shit.
Is this a part of the episode right now, or are we not?
Yeah, bro, this is live.
That's what I said.
I think
episode 1 is
half of the stuff that Matt just said. I think should be not in the episode. We were like sharing way too much personal information too fast, man. Okay, I'm getting the vibe. This is not inherently like us presenting ourselves as like actively trying to be entrepreneurs. I think this is us at like, I mean, you can like read the room if there's like a visual. Like we're all of a certain age. There is like an appetite to go and like do something bigger or new or like exciting or challenging together. But we're kind of trying to figure out what that is. And it might not be anything, but this is us like ideating through things that are right in front of us as like ideas or opportunities or passions or interests or whatever. And then if something sparks in like an episode one day or like in 100 days from now, we'll go down that rabbit. But until then, it's like, what's top of mind? Where are our heads at? What do we see as like unique, if you want to call them opportunities? I don't think you have to call it like a start a business podcast. I don't think that's I'm with you on that. Like, I don't think that would be the right angle I don't think it's us like workshopping and murder boarding every idea that comes to mind in every episode. I think it's just
Okay.
like the riffing on just like the discourse of the day, the topics at hand, like investment opportunity. Where is there like a pot of gold somewhere at the end of a rainbow that we're trying to chase like everyone else? Like the audience engagement and the audience like interest in will they or won't they actually, do something, I think is the business.
And
I still
yet,
think that is it.
But no, I like that. I mean, so the reason, because have you ever heard of the term generatives? Like in general, like apparently it's a founder startup thing that's been going around. And then people are like, oh, you're like, if you have a lot of ideas, people are like, oh, you're generative. And I was like, bro, we're the opposite. But at the same time, we are kind of generative because we come up with a bunch of shit and then say how stupid it is or like shoot each other down or just like, but anyway, so at the end of the day, I think it's just us shooting the shit and then trying to get somewhere. And then whatever conversations come of it. I mean, and part of it honestly is like, when's the last time we all got a call like this dedicated 2 hours? That's like a win in my book.
There was a
No,
moment in
100%.
time, I can't remember when, but I created a recurring calendar invite in my on my phone, and I think we were supposed to have bi-weekly meetings for something. Don't ask me what they were for, what the purpose of that was. They never happened.
I mean, did you invite? Were we invited, or they were just in your
I
calendar?
think I've
with no
seen
invites?
those invites. I think I've seen it in my calendar, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah, it was a recurring touch point for us to like literally connect and not do anything. Failure to launch, I think, is a term. So generative, what does generative mean to you? If it's not just the way that it's defined by being an idea machine.
Well, that's
Doesn't
that's how
everyone have
people are
ideas
using
of
it.
some sort?
No, but some people have more than others, or like they think about it more than others. And I think that's what we all find interesting about potentially starting a business is like thinking about things and like how we can improve things or how we can make things better or a pain point, like interesting pain points to find solutions for, or even just like conversations about how to make sure kids are growing up in a better world. I mean, I don't know.
But how many times in a day do you find something frustrating that you know you're not going to go and try and solve? You're just going to leave it alone, make a passing comment about it, and then move on. It's probably the majority of the time, right? Or do you actually think, what if, and then do you actually take it 1 or 2 steps further and think like, oh, there's an opportunity? Do you do that? Is that something that the two of you actually think about as you go on through your days and experienced a pain point and friction in something?
No, I actually don't experience that many pain points. I don't think about it, and I mean, I feel like of anyone, you probably do it more. You do it the most.
Maybe.
But that's also part of like your job, isn't it? That's like kind of what you do for work. No?
Well, I mean, you assume that there's problems everywhere, right? There's like a process that's broken. There is like an experience that could be improved. There's just like a general opportunity to do something better than what it is. I think a lot of business-minded people see opportunity in a problem and they can develop or present a solution. But I think they're business-minded because they think about it from like, is there money to be made here? Is there an actual market? Are there people willing to spend money for something? I think this generative idea is like generating ideas that are actually like lucrative, is like subtly or significantly different than people that just generate ideas daily, which I think is actually more common. I don't know, you're grilling a burger on the grill and you're like, I should make a grate that's like a little smaller than this because my burger is kind of like seeping through a little bit. No one's going to take it a step further than just like being annoyed. No one's going to be like, this is $1 billion idea. I'm going to create a new grill. I think that's where there's the disconnect. I think that's where we've been stuck. We see the upside potential of what a business could be, but we're stuck in this like simpleton mindset of like the problems that we're finding. That's my summary of like our to now point. So where's the
random question? What do you think? What do you think the population of is out there? Of the people that don't even think about that, like don't even care, like is there a certain percentile? What I'm saying, where like people where there is a problem, going back to your grill example, and then like, oh, I just don't care. They don't think about like how can I make this better, or how can I make the next big thing? I feel like the three of us constantly always think that with things like we all whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's Rico training for a run or you cycling or whatever it might be, we're always thinking about like how can we better something. But do most people think that, or do most people not care? Just curious.
I don't think most people
care, right?
I don't think. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like I don't. Because part of the problem is because I follow and believe Stoicism and all this stuff, Buddhism. Like you're supposed to not be affected by your environment. So like That's part of the problem, that I try not to see problems.
Also,
I don't know.
you don't even think that you're not. So what I just said about what I think about the three of us, you don't think you're that way.
I do, because I find it interesting, but like it's not really a pain point to me. It's like I find a way around it. Like I'm the kind of person that
You
would
find a workaround.
exactly, like I'll do that. But instead of doing that, I think that there are opportunities where, like, oh, I don't know, my phone, I can't stand up my phone. I'm going to build this thing to pop up on the back of my phone. Like I want to start doing that. Whereas like
Yeah.
I'll put shit behind
How
it.
would you describe that person's characteristics one versus another? Everything that you're describing is like maybe 180 degrees, maybe 175, opposite of myself. And maybe it's like
Yeah.
a neurotic nature where you're just like looking at stuff. You're like, this is a mess. Like, why is it like this? Like, let me at least like vent my frustration. Maybe I'll potentially make a comment externally, and I'll socialize like my, I don't know, distaste of whatever this is, or frustration. Like imagine like spending money and going to a restaurant and the meal's terrible. But like, is that an objective truth, or is like taste subjective? Like again, it's hard to tell some people that the restaurant they love is not good, but maybe that's my own taste buds or my own opinion. But I think there's like a lot of varying ways of saying, this could be better, this is bad, this is like horrible, whatever. And I think that's where businesses start to like blossom, where there is the person that says like, I'm going to fix this, or I'm going to improve this, or I'm going to make this faster or cheaper or whatever. And then those that never knew now know, and then they become the consumer. But the consumer never said like, oh, I didn't even realize that this was broken until somebody showed me a better one. In the D generative here, I would say that stunted growth is mostly due in part to the fact that I project my own being onto how I think everyone else thinks, where I'm like a very tough customer. I am like very reluctant to like adopt something that I feel like is a waste of money or a waste of time. I find the justification of some things difficult. So for me, that has been like the Achilles heel in the business ideation kind of phase of like justifying the like actual risk and the attempt to like start a business, to move past phase 0 and all that stuff.
But at the same time, you're kind of like the best person to stress test an idea with. Because like if we could sell it to you, like everyone else is going to jump on board for sure. Like if we could get your demographic or whatever, your shopping person to spend whatever to actually make a purchase, that's like...
Would you three, or two, the three of us, would we agree that there is like a sense of luxury and complacency where if things are going okay, why strive for more?
Let it ride.
That's inherently a luxury, right? I mean, I don't think if you look at a lot of like innovating machines, they come out of like a sense of struggle or out of necessity or out of pure like desire. Sure, I think there's like that hard disconnect. I feel like there's like the garage inventor, and there's always like these like points of perspective. Like if you lived and grew up with a garage, you were actually doing okay. So like to position yourself as like the person that built like a software or like a technology in a garage, you didn't come from like the gutter and from like suffering. You lived in a home, probably in the suburbs, where your parents had like a decent income. You were doing okay. Then there's the other side of it where you have these innovators that come from like abject poverty that are just like, they have to fix something or grow to get out of the state that they're in. And those are totally different settings, right? Those are not the same by any means. And then there's like the people in the middle that are like, they're doing okay, so why disrupt? Why disturb the like state that they're in? Because it's a luxury to be like in a position of like, okay. That's like...
Or they're scared to try to do something better or to change their whatever it might be. I think most people are complacent, specifically when it comes to like their careers. And what the reason is, I would say it's like a 50-50 split, my random number, where either A, they're going back to like a luxury, or B, they're scared to know what's going to happen in a new space, in a new role. I don't know.
I think it's also like circumstance and family, and they don't want to risk, like you said, they don't want to risk certain luxuries or...
Yeah, it's complicated though, right? I feel like complacency in itself as like a concept isn't fair all the time either to be assigned to a person. I think there is like a sense of very harsh judgment that we, I don't know, put on ourselves sometimes either. Like it's really hard to say like, is a person or isn't a person complacent? It's like kind of a subjective, again, these are my opinions, an opinion of like, if you are, what do you consider a person to be complacent? A person that doesn't like continuously strive for more money? Is that the like the marker of complacency? Or is it like Some
Well,
people
that
don't want a progressively more important role in their job. Like, they don't want more
100%.
stress. They don't want more commitment.
Yeah, and like for example, when I used to be in teams where like I would manage teams, I would kind of give like a, I don't want to say like a universal speech, but somewhat of a similar speech to most of my teams. Where, you know what, if you want to come in and like do your job and like check the boxes, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's perfectly fine. But like I always tell people at the same time, like, but if you're one of those that do aspire or do want more, then you do have to give more. You have to show that extra initiative, because at the end of the day, I feel. Go ahead.
No.
You
Well,
disagree?
yeah. Well, I think you and I have talked about this before. One, personally, and this is maybe like a very like snowflakey way of looking at this. I don't think it's fair to expect people to do more than what they're hired for. One, in like a work for hire job. Two, I feel like we all know that there is like this illusion of opportunity that isn't actually true. At the end of the day, if you work in like an actual organization, whatever side, there is only so much upward mobility that everybody can experience. Like, let's be honest here. It is a vertical that is a pyramid. There is a fat bottom and a tiny top. And you, literally speaking, cannot move the fat bottom to the top, because then you would have an inverted pyramid and then it would fall. So, like, that doesn't make any sense. So if you get a whole workforce of people and you literally tell them with a carrot to say, like, hey, like, work harder, harder, harder. I mean, there's countless studies about this. This is like the evolution of burnout and all that kind of stuff. 99% of those people are not going to get to the point that you're like giving them the opportunity to get to. And you can't put that like expectation on them where they just like didn't do enough. Sorry. That's a harsh reality. That's why people move to like entrepreneurial opportunities, because they got to get out of it. They hate it. It's the antithesis of their life.
I don't disagree with anything you just said. I think the difference, though, like for example, when I would kind of give those speeches to my teams, and this is where I feel like there's a small population everywhere that I've worked. Again, not naming employers, there's a small population where managers like actually are leaders and they care about their people. So, like for example, the population that I did work with, I don't want to say worked for me, that I worked with, that did want more or did want to move up the corporate ladder. It's about me as a leader having that type of conversation with them, like trying to figure out what, number one, what is it that you really want? Number two, how can I get you, if it's something else, if you aspire to be more, or if you want to move up, or maybe you want to try a different department, maybe it's a lateral position, how can I help you get there? And now that's the part where I think a lot of leaders or a lot of managers don't have those type of conversations, because a lot of leaders in corporate America, I feel, are put in positions, which again, you can look at this different ways. They're put in positions because they're like subject matter experts. Because they know the product, they know, whatever it is that they're managing to the T, which the business obviously wants them to, execute whatever that might be. However, the downside is they lack the emotional intelligence, they lack the people skills, they lack the interpersonality, characteristics that would be a good leader. But then from a business perspective, at the end of the day, I don't know. I feel like a lot of companies, they talk about these initiatives, they talk about, there's career mobility, etc. But at the same token, they're okay leaving certain people and most people where they're at, because again, it's working. At the end of the day, they need to report favorable results to the shareholders. So like there's always this big, like employees always complain like, oh, I never get raises, I don't get bonuses, which again, I've been in that category too. But at the same token, the business also has the profit and they have to report to the shareholders. So like it's a weird mix there. I feel like there's not enough leaders and managers that are out there that actually care about their people and try to help them. Like for example, I mean, I'm tooting my own horn here, but like for the folks that I have worked with where they did want like a new role, I never said like, I've seen managers where they hold managers employees back, like, oh, you know what, and they give them false hope. You know what, you might get a promotion because they're probably a top performer. They don't want to leave. You know what, I've been speaking good to my leadership about you, but nothing ever happens out of it. But I never gave two F's. I would literally reach out like, hey, you found, like, I had employees literally come to me, hey Matt, I saw this job. Do you think you could reach out for me? And either A, I would reach out because I felt that person was a good fit, or B, I would have like a candid conversation. But you know what? I'm not sure. I can reach out to see, maybe what they're looking for in this role. But I personally don't think that you might be a good role for this fit based on this. Or maybe, make sure, let's get a good understanding of what the role might be and how we can get you there. But again, I don't think many people have those type of conversations with their staff.
So wait a second. So on that point, everything that you just said, if we're kind of like validating what a lot of people feel, that even like fixed employment, and this is not going into the nuances of like being like a contracted worker, being a freelance worker, being a gig worker, whatever, being like a fully full-time employee, maybe even for like a big corporation of some sort with some sort of stability in their own market. Even within that, there is uncertainty and insecurity. So why would you even like flirt with the idea of leaving that to even more insecurity and uncertainty to like go and like be entrepreneurial and start a business from the ground up in like an unexpected and abrupt way? I think it's difficult. And I think that is like, it's almost conditioning the human, and maybe this is like our own downside. It's conditioning the human to almost be adverse to that risk because you're living in this perpetual state of uncertainty that even you feel like you can control here, i.e. like a job that you're employed at. So then to be an entrepreneur is like, okay, now I'm fully responsible for it, or we are fully responsible for it. So as we like flirt with this idea of starting a business, that's where I like am perpetually reminded the market is like a mess. There is like really fast innovation. There is like actual risk takers. There's real capital on the table coming to the like marketplace with like a new or innovative idea without like real funding behind it or infrastructure to actually like go and like crush it really fast. I think that is like where we are the degenerative. The ideas can be what they are. I think the execution and the apprehension is like this whole corporation model is a mess. How do we even navigate the world of the unknown where we're only responsible for ourselves? And maybe this is like the wrong way of looking at it. Maybe this is like non-stoic. I don't know, Jericho. Keep us honest here. Like where do we impart some of your wisdom, and how do we lean into that mentality and mindset?
I like that y'all started getting into a deep conversation, but I'm trying to pull it back to how, like, what are you thinking in this conversation, and how does that tie to the first episode? So we're talking about why are we talking about like why we haven't done anything? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that like the conversation?
Why we and why most people don't.
Okay.
And why we are actually more similar to the most people versus the other people. We're probably akin to be more of the 2%. Or the 99, what was it, 80% that take no action on the like identified opportunity.
But I feel like at the same token, we're also, the three of us, we're also that 20% too, because we at least have ideas. We haven't executed on anything, but we do have ideas. We shoot the shit, however you want to say it. We put stuff to the drawing board, and that's where it sticks or it just gets erased.
I feel like we are actually living parallel lives where we have doppelgangers of ourselves that are actually doing the thing that we are passionate and desiring of doing, but they are actually the action takers. And I think there is like equivalent peers, ourselves, probably like, again, if you want to get really philosophical, there is like another three of us that are actually following through, because we're kind of living through this like almost like fantasy land of actually doing stuff in the way that we're
Okay.
like operating and thinking and feeling and like experiencing, but we're not actually, it's not real at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think we are actual founders that haven't really founded anything. I think we've been corrupted by working in corporations in our lives. I think it's like, it's the visibility to seeing the size of it and the fact that we are thriving in some of our roles at some points where we could be that actual entity that's running it, and where we have our own employees and we have our own staff and we have our own actual enterprise. But there is like this bridge that is yet to be built to get us from this like idea phase to like this actual execution phase. And I think that is like that's the point of our connect here. It's to break through and get us
to build that bridge.
Yes. Like, how much more money am I going to make if I go start a business? Like, you got to, like, what is the model? Like, you got to make more than what you make at your job, right? Like, minimum before you leave. And that has to be sustainable. And that has to be, like, a somewhat guaranteed.
No, I think it's like with kids. Like, if you do everything for them, or if you don't give them any ownership or responsibility, like, they're not going to think for themselves or do things. I think by, even solopreneurs or like little entrepreneurs that even just have a local like a local small shop. It doesn't have to be a big major corporation, but if they have like a dry cleaners or something like that, they think about things in a different way than
Yeah.
employers do. And I think that ownership helps you be creative, helps you be like organized, responsible. Like it makes you better in like almost all ways. You know what I mean? Like, because you have to. Like, you can't just be like, oh, well, that's what the boss told me to do, or oh, that's in my job description, or like that's not my job description. I don't need to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a different kind of understanding and like way. Like, I think that's what's interesting for me in general is like the multifaceted aspect of being a business owner, entrepreneur, or something like that. You can affect things or you can change things because it's you, or the small group of you. I mean, I feel like there are too many times where at work, like, oh, like I would do this differently, I want to change something, but it's like, well, you can't. Like, the higher ups said no, so it's like, oh, okay.
Like I know someone who has their own business, and one thing that he's always kind of told me is that it's very hard for him to find dependable people that are going to be like instilled and care as much about the business as he does, because at the end of the day it's his business. As much as he wants to foster like a team of folks, this is, we're all in this together, we all have skin in the game, whatever it might be. I don't know, I feel like there's always going to be that pyramid where, whether, we're owners of a business. As much as I would love to like, preach and have like a big family camaraderie team together, everyone working on the same goal, everyone on the same page. I don't know how realistic that is.
No, I'm not saying you should ever get rid of the hierarchy. I think that that's necessary, and as an employee, you accept that exchange, the security of like a weekly paycheck in exchange for being told what to do. I mean, that's just the nature of the contract, of the agreement that you have. Like, you're not, but at the end of the day, like, as the business owner, you're taking the risk. You are taking the risk of the business and seeing the higher workings of it. So you have like different, even though you're not working the same kind of hours or doing the same kinds of things, your responsibility is different.
What would the two of you say are your like main motivators in your, if you want to call them like your employment contract of today and the desire for, again, entrepreneurship in the future? Like, what is the motivating factor?
I'll start. I think my thing, which I think I've said it as a joke to all of us, is like in our group of friends, I do like to add value, and I feel like I can add value. So I mean, that's one of my motivators. Like I go in obviously because I need a paycheck, and I like my job. At the same token, though, I feel like my voice does matter because I try to make it matter, because I feel like there's value that I can add based on whatever my expertise is or whatever my background might be to the group, to make it more advantageous, to better, whether it's processes, whether it's the people skills within our core group. I guess that's my motivator. I feel like I like to add value.
You mean, so your
And now,
motivator at work?
but flip the coin and like big scale entrepreneurship. What is motivating you to want to, like, for us to get our feet wet in the world of entrepreneurship and business ownership? Is it just adding more value, or more direct value, or like, what is it, the same motivator or is it different?
I just feel like the opportunities are endless. I feel like the three of us specifically, tooting our groups, patting ourselves on the back, tooting our horn. I feel like the three of us bring a lot of different things to the table where we could truly be successful in something, but it's just a matter of saying Nike and just doing it, and well, figuring out what we want to do and then just doing it. But I think it's also, that having us being scared at the same token, because you're so used to being in this corporate world, working for an organization. And then again, going back to you and me, D, I feel like the benefit for us specifically, we don't work for like a small mom and pop shop. We work for big corporations that are globally known. So there's a better incentive for us to continue working because we have decent pay, we have decent benefits. There's 401k. vacation, etc. So like it's hard. I mean, maybe I want to speak for you, but I'm speaking for myself here. It's hard to take that leap of faith and say, you know what? I mean, I feel very confident that I think we could, but again, taking that leap of faith, it's definitely freaking scary. Because again, you don't like all of us are replaceable. I can get fired tomorrow, but at least for the time being, I feel confident that I'm gonna get a paycheck deposited into my bank every 2 weeks.
I think that's part of it is also just scratching the itch, because obviously we had this interest for the past 20 years. Like we were all talking about this when we were, I don't know, early 20s. So like for whatever reason, it was
just random memory. But where were we at? I mean, we've talked about it obviously 20 years ago, but for some reason I remember us like having a true, maybe not true, but like a good sit down conversation on Fowler. Was it like a Tia's Tex-Mex or something?
Yeah, bro, we had fucking nachos.
Is that where it was at?
Yeah, and then we were like writing down what value we brought to the table.
And you guys just left like a seminar at USF that day.
No, bro, we were with we were like this 80 years old, the SBA, the Small Business Administration.
Oh, the SBA.
And they were like hyping us up.
It's like a one-story business center off of like Bush Boulevard or something. I think
it was like a shack. But they were just like pumped that someone was coming through.
But
and
I mean,
we were like,
all jokes aside, at that point, people that were in that room were like early adopters of like food trucks and like small businesses, probably like pet grooming and who knows what. And they probably like branched out and franchised and like probably are like multi-million-dollar corporations now for who knows.
Like imagine if we started building that bridge or boat or whatever to get to that future land 20 years ago, instead of just like kicking it down the road and just like having it in the back of our mind. Like even the stupid YouTube videos that we used to do in 2009 when YouTube was just like popping off and there were no copyright infringement for music. We were putting like straight.
Do you remember some of those?
No, chill, bro. Those need to be burned. But you know what I'm saying? Like imagine like those small incremental improvement. Like even if we got a little barely better videos, we were such early adopters at that time.
Not for nothing, but we were crushing those videos.
Bro, it was pretty fucking funny. If I remember.
Dude, that actually is like evidence of what we
early innovation
memory. What happened then to get us to now? Not that life hasn't happened. There's been like a lot of milestones, obviously, but
yeah, for sure.
But there was a moment of action at that point, and I think it was because, and this is my theory, it was organic. It wasn't forced. There was no motive, agenda, or intention behind it. It was actually doing something for the sake of doing it to be fun and funny, not to like try to make money or get views or create engagement. We created content at the end of the day. It was content creation 20 years ago. With very, 100%. Rudimentary production that got a really good rouse from an audience that it was presented to. But
live audience.
Because it came from the right space. It wasn't like a forced, demotivated kind of action. It was like our motivation was to entertain ourselves and to entertain each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was. There was like, it's kind of like when you can sit back and like fucking chill. And it's not like, oh, let me think about every word I'm going to say. Let me think about every action I'm going to take. It was just like, it was off the hip, man.
That's what I want this to be.
Real quick, my bad. I think it's also harder though. Like Rico said, like that's what you want this to be. Because I mean, think about it. 20 years ago, I mean, not for nothing, but there was nothing compared to what's out there now. Like in regards to like what we're visible, what we can see. Because I feel like the hard part is, and this is my view on it, is like back then we didn't have all these social media platforms where there's so many folks that are thriving and being and successful. We didn't have nothing to compare it to. Now there's like so much stuff out there that, I think by default, it's easy for us to compare, what's already created, what's everyone else doing. I feel like it's hard to be innovative. It's hard to be innovative these days when you see so many folks that are doing so many different things, and there's an audience for everything that's out there. Which is like so mind-boggling. Because
flip the glass to the other side. Everything that you just described to me is actually the opposite of what you think. There's upside, endless upside. play around with the ideas, man. Like, what if your literal content is just like replanting plants? Like, that's all you do. You're transplanting a plant from, like, I got one here next to me. I'll take it out of here.
Nice,
This is the content. I just got a bunch in water and I plant them. And for 20 minutes, there's some chill music. It's relaxing. And I'm just planting plants, like, inside an apartment. And I guarantee you, if I start that channel tomorrow, I get at least 100 people to watch it. But I feel like everything that you're saying means that there is still an endless amount of opportunity and upside for what could become the next new innovative thing, or the next new. I feel like a lot of stuff has actually been on kind of like hyperspeed presented to us and introduced to us more recently than not. I think, if anything, the innovation curve is even faster. I think there's even more stuff coming out, not less stuff. Unless I'm missing something. There you go.
What is this?
And I wouldn't call this like educational in nature. I would call this like engaging and entertaining.
No, it's ASMR.
Don't stain.
Can you hear the audio?
The purple ones do.
Yeah.
So they don't leave stains on the sheet.
There's got to be people here that are like, I don't even know why I'm watching this, but I can't stop.
Well, that's kind of like what I was hoping to get from this in general. And like going back to what Dee said with like what we did back in the day and being organic, and we could just kind of go. Like, even if it is start at what you were saying, like even if we start at saying, how can we improve this? I think if we continue to iterate and like think about different ideas, eventually, we put two separate things that are not even related together, and it becomes like something even better. But it doesn't come like these things don't come unless we put in the work, put in the process, and like show up. Do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like this is a stupid thing. We're talking shit. Like, maybe no one listens to this, and I don't that doesn't matter. Like, as long as we're enjoying it and like we're getting something out of it, I think that it's organic. Like, it should be organic. Like, I don't think we should be doing it to think about, like, how can we mess with the algorithm, or how can we get more viewers? As long as it aligns with what we're interested in or what we want to talk about, just keep it organic and just keep iterating from there.
So what are some recent highlights in your guys' weeks that come to mind when it comes to the what if situations? Something that you've done the last couple of days, last week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be. Something that could have been better, something that can be improved. Doesn't matter necessarily what it is.
I literally think about that every single day. Maybe I'm cleaning my house, and I'll figure out, like, I'll think of an idea, like, how can I create something to clean the baseboards?
We're crowd donating ideas. I have an idea also. By the way, you've been like throwing around this like floorboard Swiffer thing for like 25 years also. So
Really?
the baseboard box that does like a pretty angle, and you can like get in there, and you don't have to like bend over. Come on, dude, take that.
You gotta go like this.
People like convenience, right? Service, convenience, whatever. And people pay
100%.
premium prices for a service that may be a convenient way of doing something. You know, like when you got to return something and you always got to go back to the original point of purchase. Amazon is like a company that has like enough of an infrastructure and network where you can like take it to Whole Foods, you can take it to a locker, you can take it to UPS, you can take it to Kohl's, whatever. I think there's like maybe one or two other options. Amazon Fresh. I can't think of any other like companies that have so many like partnerships where I feel like you create a kind of connected network where, again, maybe there's like 500 participating companies, but you build kind of drop-off points. Because sometimes it's far, right? Like, we went to IKEA recently. We bought a couple of lamps. We bought like a new like hanging lamp, and we bought a floor lamp. And we want to return the headlamp, the hanging lamp. But for us to go to IKEA, in my opinion, it's an inconvenience. Say it's like 20 or 30 minutes away. But I want to return it. I mean, am I willing to like eat $5 and like a fee to like return it 2 minutes away versus 30 minutes away? Maybe. I think there's a lot of people that would probably like leverage a service like that, where you have connected companies that are big enough in scale where they will take the product, they will process the return, but you'll pay a premium. Like, just imagine like not having to go back to all of those actual stores that you bought something from. And there is like a hub close to where you live where they're actually willing to take returns from like, I don't know, 45 different companies. It's an idea that you're offering a convenience and a service. This might exist, doesn't exist, I don't know. All I'm saying is like, these are the things where I'm like, how do you add some sort of convenience to the day? Again, that came to mind literally right now, based on something that happened yesterday and this inconvenience of a return that I have to do tomorrow or the next day. It's just like a
And that's the thing too. Like every time I think of an idea or anything, I think of an idea. Like I try to think worst case scenario. Like what's the risk? What's the liability? So like for example, your idea, the first things that come to my mind, like for example, let's say it was like an Uber type service. Let's not call it Uber. It's a service where someone comes and picks up your what you want to return. It's a small fee. They take it. They're supposed to take it back to IKEA and do the return for you. Then IKEA says, you know what? No, it's in bad condition. We're not going to accept it. Or maybe the driver steals it. Like, how do you where's the liability? Is there like an insurance that you pay for it to loss?
I mean, at that point, it's just like lost revenue. You can just like write that off of the books. Again, I feel like when we
but
generate
which one has
ideas,
more value? The loss.
Okay, so let's do this. Like this is like ground rules 101. When we're generating ideas, and maybe this is me asking myself to like change my perspective. Do we push it to possibility or try to kill it on? Because I think those are two different ways of looking at stuff.
I'm not trying to kill it. My bad. I'm not trying to
No,
kill
it's
your
okay.
idea.
It's okay. I'm not saying I'm guilty of immediately killing everything, and that's why we're at where we are. Don't get me wrong,
No. I think it's good to push it to like the further.
No, I think we should. I think we should
Yeah.
challenge everyone's idea.
I think eventually we should, but like hype it up and then break it down and then see what's left. It's the same problem that you said. We kill it before it's born. Yeah, but no, I like that. I like that could be like a segment. Like what's something this week that you were thinking about, or like,
Yeah, I like that.
like a pain point or whatever, something you can improve. I guess that's it. When you look at your screen, do you look blurry? No. Wait, can you hear me?
I can totally hear you. I just wasn't answering.